ask you the lineup question all the time, but where is your head taking you as you fill that out every day?
Let's talk about the 320 games. You talked about that before. Yeah, we're just going to disregard the last 20. First 20 were okay, the last 20 were not great. So we're going into a new
Yeah,
20.
new
Um,
20.
yep, new 20. As far as lineup goes, obviously these guys, I want to see these guys play. So, obviously Elvis is playing today. He's got a ton of success against Haney. I think Tejeda will be playing probably at least the next two. Maybe it's short, but we'll see. I think every day that goes by, like I said, there's just so many conversations that are having to happen, which is great. I told our staff today, and nobody likes losing. We all hate it. But what can come of this? These guys are forced to understand what it takes to win a baseball game. And right now, it seems, like I said last night, it seems almost impossible at times. But it just exposes every little detail of the game, especially to these younger guys. So I'm thankful for that. I'm not thankful for losing because I hate it, but I am thankful for the fact that, when we look at what it takes to just win one game, let alone win a championship, like these guys are understanding of how to, every detail that we talk about and we discuss is now being exposed. And that's a great learning experience for these guys, and hopefully we can kind of break through and win some games, because we need that for all of our psyches. But these younger guys are definitely learning a ton right now, including the older guys as well. The expectations are for everybody.
And been another one of my recurring themes throughout the season has been that segmenting off. And so, do you, coming off a road trip, you have 20 to go? I don't want to say flush it, but let's see how many games we can win in these last 20.
Yeah,
Let's see what our record.
we definitely can't flush it because our record shows that, unfortunately. But we have to learn from that, and I think we have to never forget what that felt like. And we're still in the midst of it. Obviously, we've lost 6 in a row. We have to find a way, and that's usually with small details and fight and grit and all the things that we talk about as a group. And when that becomes enough to win a baseball game, then we can hopefully if things start progressing and guys improve and we start playing better, now we can actually start to win hopefully by more than one run. Right now it's just it's critical that we do all these small things to give ourselves a chance.
We've also talked a lot about the defense, and if stuff's not coming at the plate, that's something that can always be there. It seems like there's been an uptick in the crispness of the defense and the lack of errors.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a much improved defensive ball club. I mean, you look at our defense today, that's probably, in a lot of ways our best defensive club. You look at the outfield is obviously elite. Solak's been doing a great job at second base. I don't know if Tejeda, ranks above him at second base. He's just got probably more arm strength, I think, is the biggest thing. But the infield defense is solid as well. So Lance has regardless of whether Solak and Anderson flipped. Second base, we have a good defensive club out there, and I think that's something that we're going to pride ourselves on as we move forward. At the rest of this year and into next year, we're going to have a similar group out there. So, the way we run the bases, the way we compete, hopefully we start to swing the bats a little better, and we can actually put some runs on the board to support the pitchers in that defense.
And then one more for me. We've talked a lot about Leone, and the prototypical leadoff hitter and the kind of the characteristics that prototype has. What does he bring in addition to those things?
He brings an edge. I think there's he's got a lot of edge to him. I've talked about his poise, but he's a little bit of a killer. When it comes to playing the game, you talk to him, he's constantly trying to learn, but he's also doing. When he walks on the field, you could tell he has a little bit of a. I want to say this in a nice way, but I'll just say edge for now. I have better words to describe it, but I can't use it in front of this group. But he definitely has that mentality when he steps on the field. He wants to beat that other, whether that's the opposing pitcher or the opposing hitter. He's an assassin out there, and it shows. And I think that, along with all the physical attributes that he does, that he can perform, on the field, makes him a pretty intriguing player. And I think he's got obviously a bright future, but I think it's coming sooner than we think.
Thank you, Eddie.
Questions, please. PR.
Chris, What is the status of Shin-Soo, please, sir?
He came in pretty sore today. We're going to kind of obviously evaluate. Like I said, no breaks in the wrist, which is great. But it's just the severity of the sprain. We got to find out exactly how bad it is. We can only know, every day that goes by basically how sore it is. So if he has a really hard time squeezing or holding the bat, then we have to kind of look at some options, because if it's going to be 4 or 5 days or 6 or 7 days, then we probably would IL him. But if it's only going to be 2 or 3, then we'd probably hold off.
Is it important for some reason for him to play again this year?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, he signed a 7-year deal with the ball club, and I think, as well as he's performed, especially he's been swinging the bat really well of late. He wants to finish strong, and I don't, I know when Willie gets healthy, I don't know as far as playing time. We've talked about it, him and I personally. I don't know if it's going to be an every single day basis, but he wants to finish out this deal. He wants to finish strong, and he prepares better than anybody that I've ever been around. So I think we owe it to him to kind of get him out there and let him finish the way he wants.
How close is Calhoun?
I don't know if he's going to make it this homestand. He's swinging the bat. He just can't. He hasn't really run or run the bases. So I think tomorrow and Friday he's going to do a lot of base running to make sure that how that feels and how it looks. He may have a chance of being activated over the weekend. We'll have to see, basically tomorrow when he runs the bases, and then on Friday, we'll evaluate him after.
Evan?
As we talk about recurring themes, I guess mine has been the number 3 spot and your choices there. Whether Willie plays again this year or whether you try Joey again there this year, you have to look at one of those guys again in that spot ahead of next year because of the lack of production that you've had in that spot this year?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely been a little bit of a hole for us, and that's a spot you would expect to be your most production. So it is frustrating because it hurts us in the middle of the lineup, doesn't produce like you would like. So obviously Solak with the lefty, makes sense. He's been one of our best hitters as of late. So I'm going to keep trying. Hopefully somebody takes it and runs with it, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. But I still think as we move forward to the end of the year and into next year, the guys are going to have to earn it. And if that means it's a younger guy that earns it, I'm fine with that. Obviously, I've had no problem putting, Trevino in there when he was hot. I don't care who it is, to be honest with you. If they're productive, and they've earned that spot, then they can hit there. But as far as into next year, we'll have to wait and see, how these next 20 games go, I guess.
If Willie is back for those last 2 weeks, would you expect to look at Willie in that spot in some fashion?
I would like to, yeah, because he kind of, in my opinion, represents, kind of what we would expect from a production standpoint. He's got power. He hits the ball to all fields when he's good. Can drive and run. He doesn't have the speed, obviously, that I would like in that spot, but he can hit left, he can hit right. You don't really have to worry about him late in the game if they bring in some, tough lefty. Typically in years past, it was, he handled them fine. So he has all the attributes, or most of the attributes I'd like. And he's got that edge that I talked about with Leo. He's got the edge in the batter's box that he doesn't care who's throwing. He thinks he can hit anybody. So we'll see. We'll see how he looks when he comes back.
All right, the last thing for me on that is Louis talked yesterday about Joey and the conversations they've had the last couple of days. You've talked a lot about conversations that guys need to have. Is Joey in a better place, as far as you're concerned, with not so much approach, but whatever it is he's trying to change the play?
Yeah, he does look better in the last couple of days. Obviously, there's been some results, and I'm not saying that was the reason. I just think he's put some balls forward that we hadn't seen. I know him and Louis talked a little bit about some of the adjustments he had to make and why. They dug in and looked at some of the numbers, and I think Joey was shocked to see some of the numbers were actually better. Especially his chase percentage and some of the end zone percentage. It wasn't as bad as he anticipated, just because of how much he's struggled. So that kind of lifted his spirits a little bit. And he saw that it was just like maybe a minor adjustment, physically with some of his mechanics that maybe put him on time and got him a little more direct to the ball, and be able to put the ball forward, which he did. He hit a big homer and then got the big 2-run double yesterday. So hopefully he kind of builds off of that and creates some momentum to the end of the year.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Okay, we'll take a few more before we bring Joey in. What else for Woody? Anybody have anything?
CJ.
Hey, Woody, sorry, I think I was going to get here this early. A couple of questions for you. One, you mentioned the younger guys and learning how to win and dealing with it and going through all that. What about the older guys? How are they handling where the season is right now?
It's the same. I think, obviously the younger guys have no perspective. Older guys have a ton of perspective, right? They've either been around a long time, they've been on winning teams, they've been on losing teams, and they see, typically those guys understand kind of what it takes. But I think, in this day and age, maybe what they've been used to in the game is a little different from where it is right now. And I think, understanding how to win 10 years ago or 8 years ago or 5 years ago is a little different than it is right now. And you're just seeing what you're up against. And I've noticed that as a player and then as a coach and then as a manager and coaching for 2 different teams and then now being a manager. It's different. It changes every year. So my expectations and what we are asking of our players, in this time period is exactly what I would ask when we're the best team in baseball. I don't want to lose that edge. I don't want to lose that, resiliency and that fight every day, every pitch. That's what we preach. I mean, it's written on our walls, in our clubhouse and around the stadium. So they understand that, but now they're actually being forced to do it. Like, otherwise we don't win. And it's like every night, it's like something little that affects the game that we lose because of it. It's being, obviously everything's being shown a lot more. We can't afford to feel like to make a mistake, and that's fine. I don't mind that. I don't want our guys to shy away from that pressure, because that pressure would be the same pressure when you're the best. And I've been on teams, and I just came from a team that we were the best. We considered ourselves one of the best in baseball. And, we prided ourselves on all those little details. Yes, we could get away with making mistakes against lesser teams and still win, but we still discuss those mistakes. But right now, we can't afford to make one mistake, I feel like, or we lose. And that's okay for these guys to see. It's okay for these young guys to feel that pressure, because that's what I want them to feel in the end anyways. We're not going to shy away from it and not have discussions because we're worried about hurting feelings or anything like that. No, we got to get tough. We got to have a tough exterior and a tough interior, to be able to handle this. We're going to be better for it in the end. It's just going to really hurt, and we're going to have a lot of sleepless nights by not winning games. And that's kind of where we're at right now. But we're not going to lose focus on what we need to focus on, and that's every little detail, not taking a pitch off, the preparation out on the field, physically, mentally, everything. Our mentality has to be right. We can't shy away from this.
Yeah, and it makes sense. So along those lines, I was thinking about an at-bat that Eli had yesterday. We brought it up. We talked about it. It was tough to watch because he took what looked like was a ball in a really big spot, and it's called strike.
Yeah.
And then earlier in the game, I think it was Isaiah, expanded the zone and got a base hit the other way. And I just wonder about when you talk about process, you and I have had this conversation before, when you talk about process and you feel like they're doing things right and they get a bad result, or sometimes they might do the wrong thing and get a positive result. How are those conversations been? Excuse me. Especially with a guy like Eli. That was a tough call, third strike.
A really tough call.
It looked like the right thing.
Yeah, and it was, obviously a big spot. We were battling to get back in the game, and that would have put maybe the tying run at the plate. And he took a borderline pitch. Now, you can kind of look at it 2 ways. Is it too close to take? I mean, that would be my question. I was screaming at the umpire. I thought it was below. I couldn't tell where it was on your screen or whatever, but I just thought it was. I thought it was a great take. That's what I was yelling. Obviously, these guys are battling their butts off, and it was a really good take in a really big spot. And so we can't let that go when we talk to Eli and say, hey, that's a fantastic bat, man. I know it didn't work out, and maybe it's because you're a rookie and you only have a few days in the big leagues, and maybe that's why they called that on you. I don't know, but we can't lose sight of that was a tremendous at bat in a big spot. So we have to obviously pat him on the back and put our arm around him and say, hey, do that again. With Kiner, obviously that's those kind of situations. Maybe it is too close to take, he felt like, and he expands it. We're never going to get mad at a guy for having a positive result, but at the same time, you can't have that consistently and get away with it. If you're facing elite pitching. So it's a lighter conversation than the Eli, because the Eli one, like, we want to make sure we reinforce, like, that was awesome. Like, you did exactly what you were demanded of that at bat, and you should be applauded for that, even though it didn't work out.
How's he handling it? Because I think we're due for after.
I gotta bring Joey in.
All right, that's right. Thanks, Woody.
All right, guys.
Sorry. Hey, Woody, complete game really seemed like all around for your team. Would you concur?
Yeah. I mean, it's similar to that, I guess, Dodgers game. Last homestand. We've had a few of those, and obviously, when you have your best pitcher on the mound, if you get a couple runs, you're in pretty good shape. But I thought the at-bat quality, we hit a lot of balls hard, but it was the execution of some specific situational, game. I thought we did. Kiner's ball stands out to me. Second and third, nobody out. He gives himself a chance to hit a double, or he almost hit a homer on that ball. But that's what we preach as an offense, like, to get that job done. You get that guy in from third, and then also the guy to third, from second to third, and then we get a sac fly the next at bat. I thought we did a really good job in just putting pressure on the opposing team. Haney's had our number over the last year, and this year we've actually done a good job against him.
You talked about learning how to win like that. That's important for all the guys on this team, right?
Absolutely. No, and we're obviously having discussions as we speak with some of our younger players, and just talking through those moments and how critical those moments are, and having a game plan. Like I said, Kiner's at bat, he got it done in one pitch. He got the pitch he was looking for and moved it forward, and did the job. There was so many others as well that Tejeda staying through a changeup. He struggled with that the last couple of days, and he gets the left-handed changeup, and he hits it fair down the left field line. So just constant pressure, and just, like I said, being able to handle those situations and execute is critical.
Body language expert, but it appeared that Lance was literally fighting with himself at times, but still gets you through the seventh. And what can you say about him and the way he goes about his business?
Yeah, it's just he impresses me every time out. I feel like there's something that he does that just kind of you talk about. He didn't feel great today. He's talking about obviously he uncharacteristically hit three guys, but he found a way. He knows, he kind of feels his body, how it feels. If he can let it loose and get the ball where he wants it, he does it. If not, then he knows how to manipulate the ball a little bit to get him off the barrel. And I think that's kind of what we saw today. He didn't have his power stuff, but he still was able to execute pitches and get them to hit, obviously a lot of weak ground balls and outs.
That's it for me. Thank you, Woody.
Other questions, please? Stephen. You gotta unmute yourself, Stephen.
Sorry, I was clicking the wrong one. Chris, hey, Lance is racking up the high pitch games. Is that any kind of concern for you? It doesn't seem to bother him, but.
No, not really. I mean, I think it's obviously in a shortened season. I don't want to kill him, but at the same time, I want to when he doesn't have very many starts left, I'm constantly asking him how he feels physically, and can he kind of go back out there, or does he feel like he can go 110? I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, I don't want to hurt the guy, but at the same time, at times, like tonight, I thought about maybe getting him out of there before that, but I wanted to let him finish off that seventh inning. I felt like he kind of had earned it at that point.
Well, since this season is a bridge, sort of, does that allow you to let him go maybe a little longer than you normally have?
Yeah, I think if we played a full season, I think I'd be a little bit more concerned about it. Since he's only going to have 12 or 13 or 14 starts, it's like we might as well, as long as he's healthy and feels fine, like he can build up that endurance a little bit to kind of get through this off season, and then he comes into the season next year kind of having some stamina, I guess. I don't think it's going to hurt him at all.
Thank you.
Other questions for Woody? Chris?
Just looking at Ronald Guzman, he just looks a lot more confident in the plate than I've seen him. I mean, you talk about, like, in order for him to hit a ceiling like that, it's all going to be mental. I mean, is this probably the best he's ever been on the mental side of things?
I think so. Especially with the with the dialogue that that I have with him, that his hitting coaches have with him. I feel like he's in a good spot that way, and I think that's what's, making him have consistent success. He's consistently putting good swings on good pitches. Even when he fouls them off, they're still good swings. They're on time, and he has a game plan. It's not perfect every time, obviously, but he can talk about it openly, and discuss, okay, well, that didn't work that time. Maybe I got to think about doing this next time. And, and then he's able to go out and execute it. I think that's where a lot of our younger players are. We just got to constantly remind them, like, you can't take one for granted. I felt like there was a couple of bats late there where we had a chance to kind of, do some serious damage, late in the game. And, we got away from our approach a little bit. With 2 strikes there with Tejeda and Tavares, those are learning moments. Say, hey, we can't stop. We can't let him off the hook in that point. If he makes a good pitch and he gets you out, they were just kind of caught in between on pitches that I felt like they got to be able to, at some point, put those balls in play, especially with 2 strikes.